This is Mr. Assary,
Yes, thank you.
and you're the owner of Cyrus Rugs.
Cyrus, right, yes.
And you've been here for how long?
42 years.
42 years. And you are from
Iran,
Iran.
yes. And as a matter of fact, I'm about maybe only 20 miles from where these rugs are made.
Really?
Very, very famous area for rug making. I'm going to give you a little bit of the story of this. In around 1890s, there were a couple of or few American businessmen who went to Iran, wanted to invest in making good rugs.
Mm-hmm.
They invested in this area by taking the biggest worries of the weavers out, meaning weavers usually didn't have money. By the time they finished the rug, they owe half of it.
Really?
They didn't have the money to buy the wool and the dye and work and all of this thing. So what did they finance them to the point of today's term to provide them with the money they need to buy the wool, to buy the cotton, to dye them and do all of this thing. So at the end, they would sell it to these people at the market price. It was a win-win situation
Okay.
for everybody. And at that point, unlike today, Americans believe in a very high quality of things. So if you wanted it to do something, in order for it to come to this country, it had to be at the highest of the quality. They made sure they got the best mountain wool that it was available. Your rug is 100% vegetable dye.
Well,
And that's the thing that it came from the knowledge of the people that had it for thousands of years. So 100% of the dye on these rugs are vegetable dye. And the wool is the best mountain wool that you could have purchased, which this area in central western Iran, it's all mountains and
Is it?
produce a very good wool. Another thing that makes this particular rug is different. The timing of a shearing of the wool, it makes the whole different.
oh my goodness.
Summer wool is not good because it's dried.
Oh my goodness.
Because the sheep had been outside and the sun shine on them and it dries the wool.
Oh my goodness.
So the best wool is the beginning of the spring wool, which the sheep are kept inside. The only thing they do, they just eat, accumulate a lot of fat, which is lanolin,
Okay.
in their wool. And when they shear in the beginning of the spring, that's the best wool you could
Isn't
get.
that interesting? The lanolin in the wool.
Yeah, the luster that you see on this rug after 100 years, it becomes of that saturation of lanolin. Of course, it makes it a nightmare to dye that
Really?
because it's saturated, it absorbs less dye.
Really?
So
Because it's full of fat. It's full of fat, so it doesn't
There's
want to
no
absorb.
room for dye to get in. So this expert knew how to do it, to use the high lanolin and still put
Oh
a
my.
dye in there that after 100 years, it looks as good as this is.
Wow.
Now, Sarouk area, Sarouk, it's a village in the central west of Iran, the region called Arak, A-R-A-K. That's the entire region. But Sarouk is a special weaving area in that region that they started producing this rug. This particular one with a navy blue color, which is hardest, navy blue is always hardest to dye the wool.
It is.
Because it creates so many different shades. There were a family of the weavers called Mohjaran, M-O-H-J-A-R-A-N, Mohjarans. And these people were specialized in using the indigo and to dye the wool in a dark navy blue. Majority of the Sarouks that from this area, they're all terracotta or rust or red. But
Really?
these people wanted it to do this, and it become after their name called Mohjaran. And when I'm looking at the construction of this rug, this particular rock was perhaps commissioned
Really?
or ordered. I wish it was signed, we would have known, but the organizations of the knots, the really forming of the knots, it suggests that somebody wanted it the best of the best of the best.
Oh my.
So a master weavers worked on this. If you look at the back of it, it's a very organized knotting rows that almost looks like a machine made. So it's a very, very good quality rock. I'm thinking all of these happened between 1900 to 1925. So somewhere in that range, 1910, your rug was made. Superb quality. But I'm glad that you kept it. No, one thing that I noticed, all these years that it was in your family, thank God, it may have been up north, it was washed by a people who knew this. In other words, they didn't use any harsh chemicals on it, so the wool didn't lose its luster or its
Wow.
softness,
Wow.
and it still is as soft, it's as lustrous, and it's the sheen you can see through it, and it is the best of the Persian rugs, really. That's that. It is 100 years old. It is going to last another at least 60, 70 years in your family. So if I were you, I would have always kept it, enjoy it. Once every 3, 4 years, have it washed by an organization who clean rugs, not carpet. So never
Someone
use-
like you, where I had it
yeah,
cleaned this
never
time.
use chemicals on it. As much as you want, you can use vinegar for
Really?
any spot cleaning, for any dust removing, whatever spots is on it, you could use white vinegar. Being acidic, the nature of the cotton, the nature of the dye, the nature of the wools are all acidic.
Really?
Here are some of our colleagues, they put bleach content on these rugs, and at the high pH would ruin everything. So acidic, you can do anything that you want with it. You're never gonna hurt it.
Interesting.
So always spot clean, or if you want to just damp the white vinegar and go over,
Really?
the luster comes back.
Really?
Always the sheen is always going to be there. So it's a good rug to keep. And
You were
keep-
telling me about the vegetables that were used to make the dye?
the vegetables. These were a special vegetable that was grown wide in that region, in the mountains of that region. They were using a lot of the stuff that they need for the indigo. There is another vegetable, another plant that it grows in that area. It's called madder, that produces red, and they use the walnut shell to produce brown. Actually, walnut shell produce a couple of colors. It depends how ripe it is. When it's green, it has an olivey gold color. When it's ripe, it becomes a dark brown. And they learned how to do this. So they mix them together. There are a lot of these vegetables that, because it was not paid attention to it, they eventually, and the developments of the cities and sprawling all of this dwelling, if right now in those regions there are not much of those left,
Really?
of the wild herbs and vegetables and flowers, and if there are, not many people know what they are for. So that's another thing that it was lost. The knowledge was lost along with actually the source of it. So
You said
today-
that the village that this came from does not exist anymore?
No, I drive by this to get to where I am from, and it's always very saddening things, because I mean, up to 20 years ago, still you could see few elderly that they refused to go to towns, and they resided in there, and after they passed, the village stayed abandoned. And now you could see that it's just nature is taking over.
Really?
And it's a very sad industries all around it. So that we can't reproduce this.
And you were saying that the artisans who knew how to do it, that was almost lost.
That's gone also with it because it is not a paying job. Imagine one skilled person that who has 30 years of experience, it close to about a year and a half to make this.
Wow.
It doesn't pay
Year and a half.
to make this
Wow.
with this density. And it doesn't pay. So the only version of a rug making that I know and is still exists is a well-off families that they do this to keep the tradition in their family because they know how to do it. They don't do it for income. They have other jobs. They have other source of incomes. They do this to keep it going. And another source that is still making this, not in this quality, are the villagers that is still doing their farming. So during the non-farming months, they
Say in the winter,
keep
yeah.
themselves busy to supplement their income. But overall, to give you some, just to put it in a perspective, about 85% of this art is lost.
How
The
sad.
remaining 15% is on the verge of being forgotten because again, with today's rate of inflations and all of these things that you put in account, if somebody really wants to make money, they have to sell this in a market for $30,000, $40,000, and it's impossible to do that. So that is the main reason that because it's not enticing, is not. So the art version of it is the only way that we are hoping that big powers, governments, and things like that, they take over and subsidize this industry as advertise it and promote it as an art, as an ancient art, not a source of income. So that will survive all of this.
You were saying that this will not fade. It's 100 years old and it hasn't faded.
It will, because it's a vegetable dye. Well, of course, if it's exposed to a direct sunlight,
Which
will
it has
fade.
not been, yeah.
Yeah, but by using it, by washing it, by properly care of it, it does not fade like what we buy today. You know, today the things that we buy, in order to, just to give you an example, in order to save an amount of the dye they use, they don't let it soak as long as it's needed.
Really.
They pull it out there for it
So
absorbs
it's faster.
less.
So they're
It
trying to
absorbs
produce it
less,
faster.
and then with the same vast they can dye a couple of others. So all of economy get involved in that, economic factors get involved in that, and then the result is not like this. We get new rugs. The new rugs are beautiful. They are part of today's decor. These things were created regardless of anything. They were created as an art. They were created because this region, they love these colors and design, and they didn't care if somebody says today is not going to go with the decor. We used to decorate our homes based on this. Now
Around the rug.
This has become accessories. That's a bad thing about it. Now you buy all of your
Interesting.
stuff, and then you try.
This
to
was the
find it
focal point of the room.
Many homes, and now it's reversed. Now you buy your stuff and try to find a gray rug or a taupe rug to go
Wow.
with the new decor. And if some people adopt to become that, and produce the things that is in favor today, because it keeps changing,
Sure.
they're not able to keep up. So therefore, many of them decided to just keep doing whatever they knew and never change for the trend. And nowadays, we know they were right, because society keep going back to the traditions, and somebody else comes and say, no, this is not good, do something else, but still it goes back to the traditions. So
But the fact that this is 100 years old and the condition it's in, the
It's
craftsmanship that
It's
went into. I never could imagine that was that old because it's been walked on for 100 years.
That's right. They're made to do that. They're made to do that. Unfortunately, with today's standards, that is a liability, because you don't want to make something that is gonna you walk on it for 100 years. You want to make something that you walk on it for 3 years and throw it out and buy another one. So, but this were with a different way of thinking. The quality was longevity.
Like the antique furniture I have that came with the same house
That's it.
was made
To last.
To last
And nothing
forever.
goes wrong with it. You
Yeah.
use it.
And then tell me again the name of the village, the names of the rug and
I'll
the
give
village.
you the first start with the region, vast region. Now is one of the provinces called Arak, A-R-A-K. The village that within that province is called Sarouk, S-A-R-O-U-K. Some people like to spell it S-A-R-O-U-G-H, Sarouk. So this is more of the American version of pronouncing it by bringing the K rather than GH at the end. This is within that. This particular ride was made about maybe 2-3 miles west of the Sarouk by the groups of a family that their last name was Mohjaran. And I spelled it at the beginning. So Mohjaran were known. It is very limited amount of a navy blue color Sarouk that you could get with this kind of a wool, with this 100% vegetable dye. So whatever they produced, 90% of it was navy blue.
Really?
And always they really pride on that color that nobody else can do it. So whatever they made, we don't know how many, but they were all exported out, and
Really?
most of it came to United States.
Really?
Also, a lot of it then ended up in Great Britain, and some in Germany.
For how long was this family
They,
in the rug
last
business?
Of what I have seen
But I mean,
from them was
no, how long were they doing it? How long was the family? I mean, how far does it go back?
we know that these people came to the region in 1600. Came to the region. They were always been rug makers. I have not seen a sample of a navy blue colors that dated back to 1800s. I haven't. That doesn't mean it's not there. Maybe it has been there, but the most majority of the Mohjaran Sarouk with the navy blue were made between 1900 and 1925. From 1930s out, we don't see this anymore. So that tells us that end of that family, for whatever reason, either they moved or whatever reason that
The old master
made them-
passed away and
or
didn't.
passed away,
Yeah.
and that they didn't continue. So I have not again seen a 1940s Mohjara. I have not seen an 1850s Mohjara. So concentrating on that between 1900 and 1925. So I'm more familiar with this particular design. These were the ones that they were doing a lot in 1910. 1910 they started having this very large medallion. In 1900 they started with all over pattern. You would not see a pronounced medallion. The medallion was very subtle. And that makes me guess or guesstimate that was a 1910 with the pronounced medallion.
Well, it certainly looks fabulous. All clean, and how much softer it is now that it's been cleaned.
Beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. It's gorgeous. I am glad that you are deciding to keep it in a family and enjoy it for years to go and pass it on.
And I cannot thank you enough for your time, your knowledge. Your knowledge needs to be preserved because the knowledge you have is priceless and cannot be replaced.
I
So
appreciate it. Thank you for
that's
your
why I
kind
think
words. Thank you. I'm glad that I was able to be a service
oh,
because it's part of my responsibility, really,
the knowledge to pass on the
To-
knowledge of all this is so important.
to convince my customers to preserve these things the best of their ability. At least that's something that I've really been doing that because, families, I can't blame them. They encountering the young generation that they don't want anything to do with this. And they're saying, well, they don't want it. Or I have so many customers that it comes, oh, I know my kid's gonna throw this in a dumpster.
My my brother did not want it.
So that is what is they're dealing with. Therefore, preserving this doesn't make sense to them. I am glad that you decided to do it. That at least we can stabilize this to the point that it won't create any problem for the ride or for you to using it. And that's very noble. We appreciate that you paid your share of preserving this history that we can see is going.
The difference of this is the antique furniture I have is not in fashion anymore. But rugs, Persian rugs are always in fashion. These kind of rugs, I mean, people still want this type of rug. And it still fits in with the modern decor.
That's correct. That's
Different from my old wooden colonial and Victorian kind of furniture.
yes.
Which goes very well with this. Well, thank you so much for all your time and knowledge and for sharing it and for preserving it and all the work you've done to preserve all this knowledge and this beautiful art.
Pleasure. Please feel free to call if you have any question anytime about this, about anything else that I could help. I'd be very happy to do this. So
Fabulous. And your name again?
Bahram Assary. And Cyrus is my middle name too. So Bahram Cyrus Assary.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.